Good morning.
Good morning.
If you would like an ice cream sandwich, I have some ice cream sandwiches in the back. I just haven't gotten them out yet. Oh, no, if you want to, feel free. I just want to melt. Here. I'm curiosity. He did. I had read about it. Yeah, we always advertise this between 10 and 11, but we can never get it really started until about 10 after.
You haven't had that in years, so since I don't remember what year that I did.
No, you're supposed to remember that. You're part of the family.
Yeah. That was almost 30 years ago.
I'm trying to figure out where the owl will pick you up for sitting out front. When I was sitting over there, it was picking me up really well, so.
No, seriously, do we have a list?
No, I don't.
I think we have a record of that.
Well, when did you go for high school, in high school?
Yeah.
So it was in between 97 and,
97.
yeah, yep. This is all being recorded right now, so. No, I'm good, thank you. We'll see if that gets picked up for everybody. If you would like ice cream sandwiches, I have some ice cream sandwiches that just came in.
My word, Kate upstairs, I
That is
just
right,
ready.
is that all here? I hear ice cream is a big part of ASP.
Oh, there's a lot of things.
But if you want, we've got regular size ones, mini ones,
Okay,
free, dairy free. So,
right back there.
yep, right.
All right. Good man.
Already had it.
You already had it. You could probably have it again.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
What's
We're
right, what's right?
gonna- Ice cream sandwiches.
Which is.
So you're gonna be a presenter?
And they're little ones too.
Yeah, mini ones and big ones.
Oh, I'm good.
I know. Of course you do.
But they need to take two. Yes, for everything is. That's what you expect in the next 5 years. Thanks for forever. I think we're going.
So you had to-
Next.
Yeah, we are.
That's what it.
Yeah.
But, it's more than four.
Go on these trips at all?
No.
We do? No, so the kids in our backyard, and we live in the country with a bonfire. That was as close to our participation, yeah. They had a lot of fun experiences, there no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, so what do you get, what, I guess I missed something here. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's like. Oh, sure, well, that's understandable. Yeah. It's like going back to a class reunion. What are you laughing about? You going to a class reunion?
That's true.
But yeah, so you would. Yeah. Yeah, I understand. But it isn't just the kids, we on their own. Right, yeah. Relationships, rekindle or reestablish, whatever.
There's more.
Well, let's do it together. Wow. Yeah. It could have been.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Right now, the nationwide teacher shortage.
The right now book.
Hey.
Alert that's for dog owners and from the biggest story.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does mornings on ABC News Live.
Should Steve get so much on the line, more Americans.
Just, no, the other.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine you're busy at work, yeah, aren't you? Yeah, I see them in here, and then do the work on, I don't know. Need your kids, you need your kids in the morning. Or what's that? Yeah. You do next one. Yeah. That's good, it's made of me. And so interested. Yeah. We're finding that targeted employees, all of our people, all like the area. You get people, when you get people from. What day is retired?
But I don't measure with that.
Probably smart, I moved that
Yeah.
far.
Good now. I guess so.
Oh.
I think it'll be down there. I'm in.
That's hot up there. White job.
Oh, you're in?
Yeah, I'm there.
No, I'm not.
Enjoy this.
There's ice cream sandwiches, but I ended up.
Ice cream sandwiches too?
Yeah, right back
That's my
there.
breakfast today, cake and ice cream sandwiches.
That's a great way to. Are they flooding down from upstairs? Yeah, they're on their way down. They were literally getting out and there's a pile, lined with cake, so I suppose. Oh, dear. I really tried this to maybe this will work on it too. Yeah.
I can buy it.
I went,
That's 20 years ago.
91.
I know, like,
It's been a minute. I'm like, I know it's West Virginia,
nice thing.
I think it was slightly West Virginia. And then we went to Guam twice. But one was Appalachian.
Oh, interesting. Remember that?
Have you been to Wisconsin?
You've got nice spirits, by the way.
I do, there was, I looked out in the air. Morning, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's something there. Okay.
Again, well, I wasn't gonna come extra cream.
I'm trying.
Probably the last letter. What do you do? There's something else. Yeah. That's her.
Oh,
Work. Yes. Oh my God.
Oh, I. And you got a couple of words, and I was one of them together, yeah. Everybody was yeah.
You've got it down.
Okay. And you wanted to get it. Okay.
Go down to the.
Your help is as Jack wants to go.
Just coming back.
Right.
Yep. And that's what's weird. Build a house, final inspection tomorrow. Hi, I'm Carrie. Hi, Carrie. Nice to meet you, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us on the panel. I'm gonna run up until Kathy, we got everyone here, and then I'll run back down. So I'm just gonna start off, I'll just say a little thing at the beginning, and then, kind of just let you introduce yourselves and kind of when you went and the background. I do not know that we'll have time for all the questions.
Right.
So, and then, because people are home or watching, I'll be passing a microphone back and forth. if that's Okay, otherwise they can't hear at home.
Yeah.
And then when the audience has questions, I'll repeat it on the microphone, because in my, I've learned every forum that for things that they can't hear at home, the audience has the question, so I just have to repeat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just run up and come back.
I'm sure. Yeah. So anyway. Not anymore. Still.
Oh, good.
He works for HR. No, man. She said.
I used to.
Good morning. I think, oh, you have to talk real close to the microphone, like you're eating it. So good morning, my name is Carrie Munchby. I have been putting together the third Sunday forums, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the July third Sunday forum, where we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of ASP. And we are delighted to be part of the celebration. I am really pleased and thankful for the alumni we have joining us today, not only on the panel, but in the audience too. I know you heard lots of great things this morning at the first service, and hopefully we're going to hear a lot of great things in the next 45 minutes and some of the trips people have taken in the past. I'm just going to go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves, and we'll go through some questions, and hopefully we'll have some time at the end if there are any other alumni in the audience that would like to share or have questions.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Cleaver, and I attended ASP as a youth between 85 and 87. And then again, as an adult leader in like 90 and maybe 97. So I've had experience both as a youth and adult. And let's see. Oh, and I worked in both Kentucky and West Virginia.
My name is Susie Drip, and I attended 88, 89, 90 as a youth. And then I went last year as a leader. I honestly, I'm sorry, I can't remember where we went to. I know one time was West Virginia, but I can't remember all of them. And then last year we went to Breathitt County.
Hi, I'm Brett Ospey. I did it in 95 and 96, and I'm glad to see Lee is here. He was one of the leaders. Maybe you can help me remember the locations. I remember one of them was it Appalachia, Virginia?
It was in Appalachia.
But it was at,
Yeah.
All right, the microphone, we're using the microphone to make sure everyone here can hear today, as well as the people joining us at home. My next question I have for the panel is, could you describe a day for us in ASP? What did you do? What do you remember about traveling and meeting people and being in the different communities?
So the day in ASP was different as a youth and an adult. So I kind of remember that. But either way, you wake up in the morning, you head out, you get there and you do the work for the day. But as an adult, after you get back, you have to figure out what materials you need, how it is before internet, like the one we couldn't figure out. We left it for the next group was how to build stairs. It is really hard as a beginner to know how to build stairs and didn't have the internet back then. So, and then other things I remember. I'm trying to think. Oh, cold showers. I remember cold showers. I remember going with Joe and Robert Dunn, and one of the things we learned about Bob Dunn is that if he snores at night, you yell to him to roll over, and he'll roll over and stop. Yeah. Oh, that's not.
Carol,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I have to tell a story about you and Pam King.
Okay. Here, let me give you the mic.
So Cheryl and Pam King. Pam King is our third district judge. And anyway, we went together and they were leading a group and we're on the road. And here go Cheryl and Pam this way, and we're going this way. And we thought we lost him, but we finally reconnected.
Yeah, I look back at that too, and I was young and I was not that much helpful, I wasn't very helpful as a leader. Second time I went as a leader, I did more of the leadership role. Didn't do it.
As a youth, I remember it was just too early in the morning. And as an adult, it's pretty much the same. But, one thing, again, as a youth, that we came out. So we'd go part way the first day and we'd stay kind of like a retreat center. And then you get up and we all would have breakfast. This is before we get to Appalachia. We all had breakfast together. It was really cold cereal or toast or banana or something. But I remember Roger Field singing a song to many of us who came late to breakfast. And it was, about being late to breakfast. And I remember the song, but I'm not going to sing it because I have such a terrible singing voice, but it was. Good morning to you, good morning to you. We're bright shining faces, we're all in our places. What happened to you? What happened? There's a few of us that would say that too each morning. And then, as an adult, and I don't know if they did this when we were youth, but when I went last year as an adult leader, 7 o'clock, they just blare music. They just blast it at tops, volume. And it was so jarring to me. And I still, whenever I turn like some music on and it's at top volume, it just kind of makes me jump for a second because you'll be in a dead sleep because you're so tired from, working and getting things together and keeping up with the kids and it just floors when it goes on.
Oh, so I'm gonna go back a little bit here. We used to roll out CUMC, at least 2 huge bands when the years that I did it. And it was always great. We get a send off from the congregation and they usually come and honk and stuff. And I remember we used to roll out to Rawhide. You remember that, Lee? Okay, yeah. And we had these things. Is long for cell phones, of course, but it was a CD, and the kids would always take over the CD from the adult leaders. Yeah. And that was always pretty cool. On our way out there, we usually stayed in Seymour, Indiana, the home of John Mellencamp. He was big at the time. And we stayed in an old church downtown that was infested with bats. When we got out there, it was always surprising to get into these the schools where we would stay. They're usually old high schools. Of course, the cold showers. We had what seemed to me unreasonably early mornings too, but now in reality it's mid-morning. And all kinds of crazy alarms. I remember was it you that brought along a little like dinging Japanese or Korean alarm clock that used to say wake up for rice in the morning?
We housed a Japanese student who had brought several gifts. One of them being a Japanese alarm clock that sang in Japanese. To this day, I have no idea what it said.
I understand which translated like get up breakfast rice.
Yeah.
It was really obnoxious.
You couldn't wake up to that without smiling.
Okay.
And all of a sudden we go off the next morning and that it was there.
And so it's floating around for a few years after that.
It got stolen 1 year and put there 2 years and put it in ladies without them knowing.
It was the girls' classroom upstairs in that church, same church, but the senior boys somehow stole that from Lee, which he was like. Looking upstairs, and there's a classroom full of girls on sleeping bags on the floor. There was no room to go anywhere. They took it in that room, they moved the piano. And stuck it behind the piano and set it to like 4 o'clock in the morning. And somehow snuck out and Lita's zone was gone, it was girls woke up with that thing screeching behind the piano. Couldn't find it yet.
The amazing thing about youth and like sleeping on those really hard floors, I don't even know if we had pads, maybe we just had sleeping bags. And you slept well. It was like probably, you know, it's very cold in the Appalachians, so it's probably only getting to like the lower 70s at night. And those schools had been baked during the day up into the 90s, but I mean, we worked hard enough that we slept. Yeah, we all roll out probably about 8 o'clock on the vans to the different houses we're working on. I remember one year we did foundation work, which was jacking up a trailer with just car jacks. I couldn't believe like the ingenuity that we had to come, you know, there were the local leaders who ran the individual camps. And they would just come with all kinds of, you know, makeshift solutions. So I learned to, you know, pour concrete, get things up, level things out. That was really great. We come down in the evening afterwards and just do a good meal. We usually sat around and sang, and then yeah, just went to sleep.
Thank you. Is there something you are most proud of from your ASP experience and or something you absolutely love being part of?
You can start. I'll let you start.
See, most proud of. Yeah, I would say that it definitely shifted my world view. I was definitely a very entitled teenager from Rochester, Minnesota, and really made you think about just how much hardship there is in the world, and it really did shift my entire understanding of the world.
And you know, and you don't have to go to Ethiopia to find it.
Right. Yeah, I agree with Brett. I've always, here we live in like a little snow globe in Rochester because of the size of our city and the wealth in our city and safety in our city. And then you step outside of Rochester, outside of Minnesota, even, and you just see this world that adults and children live in that you never really knew existed. I think one of the things I'm most proud of about my ASP experience is just its uniqueness. I don't think as a high schooler, I would not have done any type of construction work really on my own. You know, maybe like helping my dad with something real project, but it would not have been anything where I was under the care of other members of your church who was, you know, you grow up in the church and then it's just such a great extended family. And then you get to go and serve with members of your church in other places. And it's just so unique to have that faith and that trust in the adults that you're with when you're youth, and to learn that service, you know, the root of what Methodism is at is to serve others. And so we're taught from a younger age that sort of, this is what we do. We go out into the world and we serve in various ways. And you wouldn't think you could serve in construction work, but you really can.
Yeah, and I did, same sort of thing. What I remember is that first year, I was upset before I went here at home in Rochester that I didn't have a bike, and I had never had a new bike. I'd always gotten hand-me-downs from my brothers, and they were like, you know, I was in high school, and I didn't have like a 10-speed type bike. Then I went to ASP and I came back and I was like, wow, I don't realize what all I have, and I think it was my first time understanding that, a lot of what I had nothing to do with what I'd done, but had to do with the family I happened to be born into. So I think it was very eye-opening in that way. And then, what I'm proud of, I think, is this, I mean, the same thing that we did construction, we did it down there. And then we came back here and, for a few years there, the leaders found projects to do in Rochester too. So we did a roofing project. I remember doing a roofing project for someone here in town. And even with friends, we had a friend who's had a single mother and she wanted to, for her birthday, give her a painting part of the house. So we went outside and painted the outside of the house. So I think it got us to do kind things here in Rochester too, not just in Appalachian Mountains.
Thank you. I'm going to share something from Lucy Shanyo, who wasn't able to join us today, but did say I could use this quote. ASP was an important life experience for our daughters, Emily and Sarah. I believe it was instrumental in shaping their attitudes and actions around the realities of poverty and injustice. I know we've talked a little bit about this already in your experiences, but are there other things you took away from your time with ASP that maybe helped or prepare or impact your current career, activities, or relationships going forward?
Yeah, I think again, it was my first time kind of understanding, poverty and injustice. And I saw it other times in my life too. But I think, so there are a lot of things that influenced me to become a social worker, but I think it has impacted my career as a social worker. I also think today's sermon was really good, or readings, Amanda Larsen, some of the things she said about how everything's in progress, because I look at what my idealism was at that age and what I've accomplished. And there's just so much more to do. And it feels like what I've done is not much at all. So that was helpful to hear that we're still a work in progress. And I haven't been involved in the church. And so coming back and hearing that we're meeting with the landing, and that there's a movie today on transgender youth. It's pretty exciting to hear about and see what the church is doing moving forward.
I just think there's so many other voices here today that can answer this question too, that I'd like to have one of you guys give your opinion to, rather than hearing from me all the time. Does anyone else have? I know there's, oh, yes. Yes.
All right, let me see if I have enough length.
Well,
We're recording, and I know lots of people wanted to see it later, so I'm gonna.
My husband and I were on the first trip. And actually I went on 3 of them and he went on 4 of them. I only went on 3 because one year I had a commitment to the United Methodist Women. But I was gonna say, we stayed at the church in Seymour, Indiana, for the first night. And some of the things I do remember, one of the years we had Tex Evans, who was the founder of ASP, go along on our trip. And he wanted to find out if they were still keeping the idea of what Tex Evans had. And they he and his sisters and brothers could remember their father was away a lot of the time. On the mission projects that he was taking care of. I thought what I saw today in the photographs, you're really doing much more sophisticated construction, but it is amazing how the youth do catch on to what they're doing. And I don't know if anyone's hard this year, but I can remember in those years that, the best thing you could do is get up on that roof and put tar down and get you covered with tar. And also, if you look if you worked inside the house and got up on the ceilings, you ended up with coal, dust coming down, so you were black again from that, you know. And I remember, I think Laura Williams, with the team, worked on an outhouse. And, okay, and they cut out the hole, and Roger took it with him home, and I said, "What Christmas?" Laura got it. But it is an experience, it's a wonderful experience, and, you know, and kids always did things that they probably would never have done at home.
Speaking of war. Laura, as a student, she went with the group, several times. When she was in college, she went down and worked on staff for the whole summer. And, you know, as you can hear, the facilities and so forth were just pretty there. And so when she came back, she drove home and she drove into the driveway. And I ran down to, of course, greet her. And she said, "Oh, I'm so glad to be home, Mom. I can't wait for a good shower." And I had to tell her that we had no water. Main had broken. And so I have never seen her face as disappointed. Exactly. But now she's married and has found herself living on a farm in North Dakota on the roofs of 100-year-old buildings, putting on new roofs and doing renovation. And she credits it all to ASP.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else you'd like to share?
Okay, and I went into 1988, my son, and both of my sons went both 4 years ago. And Andrew, after he graduated from high school, worked down there for 3 years as a staff person. I found it a very interesting and wonderful experience. I remember when the first week after he got there, his work for a week, he called me, talked to me, "Mom, you can't imagine how hard I worked this week." I just laughed because as a staff, as a helping person, I could see what they were doing. They were doing the work all the time. And they had different projects that they would work on. Like 1 year he was in charge of food, 1 year he was in charge of accounting, bookkeeping, and you know, interesting. And the group I went with was fun, and we did a roof on a woman's house, and she was very concerned about things coming through because it looked like it was gonna rain one night. So we had to cover everything in plastic before we left. It didn't rain very hard, but it was a wonderful experience for me, and I know it was the most quite fun.
Thank you.
One other thing I have to say. Bob Dunn had a big old, not a big pickup, and when the year I went, we took it down there. And somebody drove down there with a pickup. And at one point, here's Ann DeBoer and myself driving this pickup in the Appalachian Mountains. I was like, what we were doing. But, and the other thing was, you know, when we go to a project, they wouldn't really give you addresses. That, you know, you go so far and you turn around. And we would always find it, but it was kind of a challenge the first time.
My name is Eric Hines. I was, I guess, on the first trip. These are just random thoughts that I've had about that trip, and honestly, it was 42 years ago, and I won't remember a whole lot of it. But certain things do stick out. and maybe to introduce me and the trip that, I grew up in the Boy Scout troop here, so at that point I would have been 18 and a half years old. And, I had learned the ethic of service and community, in the Boy Scouts especially, and certainly through the church. I remember Laura Williams, I believe her brother was on that trip. And he was, on the way home, he was studying for the GMAT to become a lawyer or something.
No, doctor.
Yeah. And, I remember the work, I don't even remember what I did. I'm sure I did something, but I don't remember. But, I do remember that in the house we worked on, Polly, they tore out the floor in the kitchen / dining room. Of course, the thing was about 6 foot square, and replaced all the joists underneath. And I went in there, I must have been working mostly outside because I wasn't on that project, but I went in there one time and I looked at what they were doing, and crawling around on some of the rotten woods were these slugs that were literally about as big as my index finger, green and yellow, and I was like, wow, that's impressive. I remember as a kid, we would stop for lunch and they would ask if somebody wanted to lead a little devotion service. And I did it one day, and I think it was, looking back on it, I think it was pretty pathetic, but it was pretty good. It felt pretty good at the time to do something like that and be assigned to that. I remember coming back and stopping on somebody's house on the shore of Lake Michigan, and as Paulie described me, decompressing for a day. It was an important part of that trip. And the last thing, I'll just say it was kind of a planting seeds kind of thing for me because, probably at that moment in my life, at that age moment in my life, looking back, I probably really didn't understand the gospel. Okay, I didn't understand the saving grace of Jesus. And it was just a couple years later that he did come and get me. But the idea of serving people and loving them through the service and all that, very much a part of that.
Thank you. I'm just gonna do a quick time check in case you were gonna be headed to the second service. It's about 10:46. I'm gonna ask one more question of the panel and then open up that same question to everybody and then ask if anyone else has any experiences they'd love to share. What advice would you give to anyone considering being part of ASP, whether a student or a leader?
Open your ears, open your eyes. Try not to say much. Just take it in, and you'll probably have decades of processing afterwards.
Try it at least 1 year. I kind of had a rule in my house with the kids that, you had to go at least 1 year, give it a try. If you didn't care for it, then you don't have to do it again. That's my secret rule because I knew that they would love it. I did have a daughter who did not want to do it. It was just, the week was too long for her. I wouldn't have been able to go with, and she's kind of a mama's girl. So we found, just at that time, Reverend Leader offered a trip over NEA to South Dakota to the Indian Reservation. So she chose to do that one that was a little shorter. I could go with it. It worked great for her. She loved it. But I think in any type of mission like that, just try it at least once. Go in open-minded and I think you'll fall in love with it.
Yeah, I'd say same thing, go and be open to the experience and, meeting new people. But, well, honestly, it's a lot of both meeting your family, people in ASP, and it's also getting to know the people from Rochester better.
Is there anyone else who'd like to share? Oh, yeah. So my husband Dick and I went in 1990 and 91, and two different experiences. The first trip we went on, we worked on a trailer, and I have to tell you, my husband's here not to defend himself, but he had to hang a door, which sounds really simple, but nothing was square. And it took him a whole week to hang that door. And I also remember on that trip, we had John Scalt, and he really connected with the family. And when we left, they gave him this encyclopedia or dictionary. And he just felt, he said, oh, I can't take that. But they really wanted him to have that. I remember when he came back, he spoke about that in church when he gave his testimony. The second year we went was very interesting. It was a young woman who had a young child, and her parents lived up the hill, and she had a little whatever down the hill from them. The water was through a hose. The electricity was an extension from their house, and we were sheetrocking the inside of that to make it livable for her. It was very interesting because she was expecting her second child. And we really became quite close to her, and she asked us if we'd come back and be her next baby's godparents. So the connections and the relationships we built, not only within our own teams, but with the people we served, were just unbelievable. And so that I remember. And the young woman, we found out that she really had a hard time having lived in Appalachia her whole life. Her husband had been in the service, and she went down to join him, I think in Alabama, and she could not live outside of Appalachia. It was such a part of her, and she was fearful of the outside world. And so it was a real lesson. And when you come back and you try to share these experiences, it's really hard. Because people just don't understand if you haven't been there. So, did you go back and meet that parent? No, because I don't think she knew how to contact. I mean, we left our address with her, but I'm not sure she could do that. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Anyone else have any they'd like to share or questions, either for the panel or any of our alumni that we have here today? Oh, great.
I went in 2009 and recently with many times between 2006 to 2014. The experience of something that was absolutely amazing. The intergenerational component here was really fantastic. Our sons met somebody, or got to know so many of the members of the congregation in ways that we never ever imagined. When our first son came back, he was kind of a little more shy, and he didn't go until his junior year. The first thing he said when he got back is, Zach is your brother. Zach needs to go next year. So the way you get to know the congregation, the names all dropped, big leaders, and mentioned, not only a great minister, but wow, could he handle a hammer and saw? He was really, really good. Mike Carlson just modeled service and acceptance in a way that was far beyond anything I could have ever done. Brad Courier, when the year we went, we had the adult men in one room, and the youth, the real youth in another, and of course, same for that. Brad was the exception. Brad would stay with the youth. He'd done this many years. And he had some funny routine where he, before they went to sleep, and he was recreating some little skit like, good night, George, good night, Mike, everybody would go around and say good night. It was this wonderful thing he would do. I mean, again, just the concern and compassion, because he knew it was extraordinarily challenging. I mean, and there's probably the other thing, as we mentioned, we're in this, the world is not about the middle class community, and to see these families, get to know these families who, despite, despite all the, challenges they face, the joy and the love that they have for each other. And that's really the biggest message that, despite all the challenge, physical, emotional, and spiritual, what you really learn is the challenge is just an opportunity for belonging. And the belonging that the groups have, and as mentioned, with, all of a sudden, Appalachia is not just a map anymore, it's very human. So it's just a miraculous transformation experience.
My name is Ted Holstein. My kids, Fran and David, were on the first trip. When we moved to Rochester, I was not going to be involved in serving the local church. And the kids really enjoyed that nobody in town knew what their dad was doing. So if they didn't get a chance to meet kids. So they were invited to make this trip, this first trip. And when they came home, the phone was ringing off the hook. So that speaks really in a positive way how the teens really connect with each other and start a relationship that doesn't end with the ASP trip, but continues in many ways for the rest of their lives.
Before we close, I really want to put a shout out to Dwayne Gephardt. Dwayne was the one who came to our church as pastor, and he brought the idea of ASP and the bread bakes and all the ways to raise money in order for the congregation to support it. So I will be glad to take the responsibility to let Dwayne know about his experience today, because he would be very, very proud to hear these things.
I do know that Dwayne was invited today. Our Amanda invited him when she saw him at the annual conference. And so he was excited about that. It's too bad he couldn't be here. Yeah.
We'll let you know.
And you can watch it online.
It's all recorded online. It's one day.
I do have to text Ellen. Oh, that he wrote. And if anybody would like, because I'm reading this really.
Right, in case you're gonna get to the second service, there are still ice cream sandwiches in the back. I know ice cream was a big part of ASP, so thanks for the ice cream.
I just have one other thing, when I was here and I'm going to 5 days now, and
So thank you. I want to thank everybody. I want to especially thank our panelists this morning. Thank you very much for joining us.